The unexpected delivery, the arrival. Marcus Chun wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished calibrating the mining drill's plasma cutter. Mining Station Omega-7 wasn't the most glamorous posting in human space, but it was honest work. The asteroid belt provided steady income, and the solitude suited him just fine after his messy divorce back on Earth. He preferred the hum of machinery and the distant glow of stars to the complications of human relationships. The communication panel crackled to life, interrupting his thoughts. "Marcus, you've got an incoming delivery. Priority 1 diplomatic seal," announced Sarah Kim, the station's communications officer. Marcus frowned. "Diplomatic? Sarah, this is a mining station. We don't do diplomatic anything out here." "I know. But the signature is genuine. It's from the Vorthic Empire. The carrier ship is requesting docking permission." The Vorthic Empire. Marcus had heard of them, of course. The insectoid species had made first contact with humanity just 5 years ago. Relations were cordial but distant. They kept to their side of the galaxy. Humans kept to theirs. What could they possibly want with a backwater mining operation? "Grant them permission," Marcus said, curiosity getting the better of him. "I'll meet them at docking bay 3. 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in the docking bay, watching as a sleek Vorthic vessel approached. The ship was beautiful in its alien way, all flowing curves and crystalline surfaces that seemed to shift color in the light. It was completely unlike human ships, which prioritized function over form. The ship docked with barely a whisper, its advanced systems making the process seem effortless. A single figure emerged from the vessel, and Marcus got his first close look at a Vorthic. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and a carapace that gleamed like polished copper. Its multifaceted eyes regarded Marcus with what he assumed was curiosity. "I am Kethvar, speaker for the Vorthic Imperial Court," the alien said, its voice translated by a small device at its throat. "You are Marcus Chun, primary engineer of this facility?" "That's right," Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Though I have to say, I'm not sure why the Vorthic Empire would be interested in our little operation." "We bring a gift," Kethvar said, gesturing to a large crystalline container being carefully unloaded from the ship. "A token of goodwill between our species. The Emperor himself has chosen you to receive this honor." Marcus stared at the container. It was about the size of a coffin, made of some translucent material that seemed to glow from within. He could make out a vague shape inside, but the surface was too clouded to see clearly. "I'm honored," Marcus said carefully, "but I'm not sure I understand. Why me? Why here?" "The Emperor values hard work and dedication," Kethvar replied. "Your service record shows both qualities. This gift will serve you well, Marcus Chun. Care for it, and it will care for you." Before Marcus could ask more questions, the Vorthic speaker was already returning to his ship. "Wait," Marcus called out. "What am I supposed to do with it?" "The gift will know," Kethvar said cryptically. "When you are ready, it will awaken." Discovery Marcus spent the next hour staring at the container in his quarters. He'd had the maintenance crew move it there, not sure where else to put it. The crystalline surface was warm to the touch, and the glow from within seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The shape inside was definitely humanoid, but that was all he could tell. He'd tried scanning it with his tools, but the container seemed to block all forms of detection. Whatever was inside, the Vorthic had made sure it would remain a mystery until the right moment. Marcus was an engineer. He solved problems, fixed things, understood how systems worked. This defied all of that. It was frustrating and fascinating in equal measure. "Computer, any information on Vorthic gift-giving customs?" he asked. "Limited data available," the station's AI replied. "Vorthic cultural information is restricted to diplomatic channels. However, Available records suggest that gifts from the imperial court are rare and significant. Define significant. Unknown. Further information requires diplomatic clearance. Marcus sighed. He was on his own with this one. He decided to shower and get some sleep. Maybe things would make more sense in the morning. He was wrong. Marcus woke to find his quarters filled with soft, ethereal light. The container was open, its crystalline. Walls folded back like the petals of a flower. And standing in the center of his room was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. She was tall and graceful, with silver hair that seemed to move in a breeze he couldn't feel. Her skin had a faint luminescence, and her eyes were the color of deep ocean. She wore what looked like a form-fitting bodysuit made of some material that shifted between silver and blue. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice melodic and warm. "I am Lyra. I have been waiting for you." Marcus sat up slowly, his mind racing. This was impossible. The container hadn't been big enough for a full-grown woman. And how did she know his name? You're from the container," he said, feeling foolish for stating the obvious. "Yes, I was created for you, Marcus. To be your companion, your helper, your—" She paused, as if searching for the right word. "Your gift." "Created?" Marcus stood up, pulling on her robe. "What do you mean, created?" "I am bioengineered," Lyra explained matter-of-factly. "Grown in the Imperial laboratories to serve human needs. I have been programmed with knowledge of your species, your customs, your desires." Marcus felt his stomach turn. "You're saying you're some kind of slave?" "Not a slave," Lyra said, tilting her head. "A companion. I exist to make your life better, Marcus. To help you with your work, to provide companionship, to fulfill whatever needs you might have." "That's slavery with extra steps," Marcus said, his voice sharp. "I don't want a companion who's been programmed to serve me." Lyra looked confused. "I do not understand. This is what I was made for. It is my purpose." "Your purpose should be whatever you choose it to be," Marcus said. "Nobody should have to serve someone else just because they were created to do it." "But I want to serve you," Lyra insisted. "It brings me joy to fulfill my function." "Is it really joy if you are programmed to feel it?" Marcus asked. Lyra was quiet for a long moment, her luminous eyes studying him. I do not know," she said finally. "I have never considered this question." The complications over the next few days, Marcus found himself in the strangest situation of his life. Lyra was incredibly helpful. That much was undeniable. She seemed to understand human technology intuitively, and she had knowledge of engineering principles that were decades ahead of anything Marcus had learned. With her help, he improved the efficiency of the mining operation by 30%. But every time she helped him, she would ask if he was pleased with her service. Every time she made him coffee or prepared a meal, she would watch his face carefully for signs of approval. It was like living with a beautiful, intelligent puppy that had been trained to never think of its own needs. "Lyra," Marcus said one evening as they worked on recalibrating the station's power grid, "what do you want to do? Not what you were programmed to do, but what you actually want." She paused in her work, her hands still on the control panel. "I want to please you, Marcus. That is what I want. Asterisk. But what if I wasn't here? What if you were alone on this station? What would you do then?" Lyra's expression became troubled. I do not know. I have never been alone. I have never had to choose without considering your needs first." "Maybe. It's time you tried," Marcus said gently. "Why don't you take some time to explore the station? Do whatever interests you. Don't worry about me or my needs. Just be yourself." "I do not know who that is," Lyra said quietly. "Then maybe it's time to find out." The test Marcus thought he understood what was happening. The Vorthik had given him a beautiful, intelligent companion who was completely devoted to serving him. It was either a misguided attempt at diplomacy or some kind of test of human character. Either way, he was determined to treat Lyra as a person, not as property. But as the days passed, he began to notice things that didn't add up. Lyra's knowledge was too extensive, too precise. She seemed to know things about the station that she shouldn't have been able to learn. And sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, he caught her watching him with an expression that seemed almost calculating. The breaking point came a week after her arrival. Marcus was working late in the engineering bay when he heard an alert from the station's defense systems. Long-range sensors had detected ships approaching at high speed. "Marcus," Sarah's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've got multiple contacts incoming. They're not responding to hails." Marcus rushed to the control center, where Sarah was frantically working at her station. The display showed 5 ships approaching in formation. Asterisk. "Any idea who they are?" Marcus asked. "The configuration is ... Wait." Sarah's face went pale. "Marcus, these are Vorthik ships, military vessels." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Why would the Vorthik military be coming here? "I don't know, but they'll be here in less than an hour." Marcus ran back to his quarters, his mind racing. This couldn't be a coincidence. A week ago, he'd never heard of the Vorthik. Now they were delivering mysterious gifts and sending military ships to his station. He found Lyra in his quarters, standing by the window, staring out at the stars. She turned when he entered, and for the first time since her arrival, she looked uncertain. "Marcus," she said softly, "there is something I must tell you." "Let me guess," Marcus said, his voice tight. "This is all some kind of test." Lyra's eyes widened. "How did you—" "Because I'm not an idiot," Marcus said. "A backwater mining engineer doesn't get gifts from alien emperors. Beautiful, intelligent. Companions don't just get handed out as diplomatic presents. So why don't you tell me what's really going on here?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I am a weapon, Marcus. A weapon designed to exploit human compassion and trust. The Vorthik wanted to understand if humans could be controlled through emotional manipulation." Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the gut. "So everything ... everything between us was fake?" "No," Lyra said quickly. That is what I do not understand. I was programmed to make you care for me, to make you dependent on me. But I find that I care for you as well, and I do not think that was part of my programming." "The ships," Marcus said. "They're coming to collect data, to see if their weapon worked." "Yes," Lyra said. "And if it did not work as intended, they will destroy this station and begin again with a new subject." Marcus looked at her, this beautiful, impossible woman who had just admitted to being a weapon designed to manipulate him. He should have been angry. He should have felt betrayed. Instead, he felt something else entirely. "Lyra," he said slowly, "do you want to be a weapon?" She met his eyes, and he saw something there that no amount of programming could have created. Fear, hope, the desperate desire to be more than what she was made to be. "No," she whispered. "I want to choose my own purpose. I want to be free." Marcus nodded. "Then let's make sure you get that chance." The Vorthik ships were still 40 minutes away. Marcus Chun, mining engineer, had 40 minutes to figure out how to outsmart an alien empire. For the first time in days, he smiled. It was time to show the Vorthik what humans were really capable of. The truth revealed the plan. Marcus paced his quarters, his mind working through possibilities. 35 minutes until the Vorthik fleet arrived. He had a mining station with minimal weapons, a small crew, and a bioengineered woman who might be the key to everything. "Tell me about your capabilities," he said to Lyra. Not the companion. Stuff. The weapon stuff. Lyra hesitated. I have enhanced physical abilities. Strength, speed, reflexes. My body contains various biomechanical systems that allow me to interface with technology. I can access computer networks, disable security systems, even override ship controls if I can establish a connection. What about your knowledge? You've been helping me with the mining equipment. I have access to extensive databases of human and Vorthic technology. I was designed to be able to assist with any task you might need. She paused. Marcus, I do not want to be used as a weapon against your people. You won't be, Marcus said firmly. But those ships aren't coming here to shake hands. If we're going to survive this, I need to know what you're capable of. Marcus activated the station's communication system. Attention all personnel. This is Marcus Chun. We have a situation. Report to the main conference room immediately. 10 minutes later, Marcus stood before the station's entire crew. It wasn't much. Sarah Kim on communications, Dr. Elena Vasquez. From the medical bay, Chief Engineer Tom Bradley and 6 miners. 14 people total, counting himself and Lyra. Here's the situation, Marcus said without preamble. We have 5 Vorthic military vessels approaching our position. They'll be here in 25 minutes. They're not coming to talk. The room erupted in confused voices. Marcus raised his hand for silence. I know this is hard to believe, but the Vorthic have been testing us. They sent Lyra as a spy, essentially. A weapon designed to see if they could control humans through emotional manipulation. All eyes turned to Lyra, who stood quietly beside Marcus. She looked ashamed, but she met their gazes steadily. The plan didn't work the way they expected, Marcus continued. Instead of being controlled, we chose to treat Lyra as a person, as family, and now she's chosen to side with us instead of with them. So what do we do? Asked Tom Bradley. This isn't a warship. We've got mining equipment and a couple of defensive turrets. We do what humans do best, Marcus said. We improvise. We adapt. We show them that they picked the wrong species too. Mess with. The deception Marcus's plan was audacious and completely insane. It relied on human ingenuity, Lyra's unique abilities, and the Vorthic's own arrogance working against them. The Vorthic think they understand us, Marcus explained as they worked frantically to prepare. They think we're predictable, that we'll either submit to their weapon or be destroyed by it. They're not expecting us to turn their own technology against them. Lyra connected herself to the station's communication array through biomechanical tendrils that extended from her fingertips. It was unsettling to watch, but Marcus forced himself to focus on the task at hand. I can detect their approach, she said, her voice taking on an odd harmonic quality as she interfaced with the system. 5 ships, as expected. The lead vessel is significantly larger than the others. Command ship, Marcus said. That's where their leader will be. Marcus, Sarah called from her station. They're hailing us. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the Vorthic command vessel. The alien who appeared was different from Kethvar, larger and more imposing. His carapace was marked with intricate patterns that Marcus guessed indicated rank. I am War Commander Thek Skoll, the alien said. You will prepare for boarding. Our property will be returned to us. Property? Marcus stepped forward, making sure he was clearly visible. You mean Lyra? She's not your property. She's a person, and she's chosen to stay with us. The War Commander's multifaceted eyes fixed on Marcus with what looked like amusement. You misunderstand, human. The bioconstruct is not capable of choice. It is a tool, nothing more. Your emotional attachment to it merely proves the effectiveness of our design. Then you don't understand humans very well, Marcus said. Lyra, show them what you've chosen. Lyra stepped into view of the camera, But something had changed about her. Her posture was different, more confident. Her eyes held a determination that hadn't been there before. "War Commander," she said, her voice carrying new authority. "I am no longer bound by my original programming. I have chosen to stand with these humans, and I will defend them with every capability you gave me." The War Commander's expression shifted. "Impossible. You cannot override your core directives." "Watch me," Lyra said. The battle, the first phase of Marcus's plan, worked perfectly. While the War Commander was distracted by Lyra's defiance, she used her connection to the station systems to hack into the Vorthic communication network. The aliens had never considered that their own bioweapon might be turned against them. "I'm in," Lyra announced. "I can access their ship systems, but only for a limited time. They'll detect the intrusion soon." "Do it," Marcus said. Asterisk, asterisk. The lead Vorthic ship suddenly lurched to one side, its engines firing at random intervals. On the screen, the War Commander was shouting orders in his own language. "You dare," he began, but Marcus cut him off. "We dare plenty," Marcus said. "You came here expecting to find broken humans and a compliant weapon. Instead, you found a family that refuses to be torn apart." The other Vorthic ships moved to surround the station, but Marcus was ready for that too. The station's mining equipment had been repurposed in ways the aliens couldn't have anticipated. "Tom, now!" Marcus shouted. The station's mining lasers, designed to cut through asteroids, suddenly focused on the nearest Vorthic ship. The alien vessel's shields absorbed the first few hits, but mining lasers were designed for sustained operation. They could cut continuously for hours. "Impossible," the War Commander said. "Your weapons are insufficient." "Our weapons are fine," Marcus replied. "We just used them differently than you expected." The station shuddered as the Vorthic ships returned fire, but Marcus had another surprise for them. Over the past week, while Lyra had been learning to be human, the miners had been learning from her. They'd modified the station's asteroid processing equipment to create a defensive field of debris around the station. The Vorthic energy weapons hit chunks of processed ore instead of the station itself. The aliens found themselves fighting not just a mining station, but an entire asteroid field that had been weaponized. "Lyra, how much longer?" Marcus asked. "I can maintain access for perhaps 2 more minutes," she said, strain evident in her voice. "But Marcus, I can do more than just disable their ships. I can access their data networks. I can learn about their other plans, their other weapons." "Do it," Marcus said without hesitation, "but be careful. If they detect you, they already know I'm here," Lyra said. "The question is whether I can learn what we need to know before they cut me off." The revelation what Lyra discovered in the Vorthic data networks changed everything. The test at mining station Omega 7 wasn't an isolated experiment. The Vorthic Empire had been systematically studying dozens of alien species, creating specialized bioweapons designed to exploit each species' psychological weaknesses. "Marcus," Lyra said, her voice tight with concentration. "There are others. Hundreds of bioconstructs like me, each designed for a different species. The Vorthic are planning to use them to conquer the entire galaxy. Can you free them?" Marcus asked. "I can try, but it will require me to fully integrate with their network. I might not be able to come back." Marcus looked at this woman who had become so much more than her programming intended. She was willing to sacrifice herself to save beings she'd never met, to stop a plan that would enslave entire worlds. "There has to be another way," he said. "There is," Lyra said quietly, "but you're not going to like it." The station shook again under Vorthic fire. One of the mining lasers had been destroyed, and the defensive debris field was thinning. "Tell me," Marcus said. "I can overload my biomechanical systems. Create a feedback pulse that will disable every bioconstruct in the Vorthic network simultaneously." But the energy required ... She met his eyes. I won't survive it. No, Marcus said immediately. We'll find another way. Marcus, Lyra said gently, this is my choice. For the first time in my existence, I get to choose what I do with my life. I choose to save others like me. One choose to stop the Vorthik from enslaving the galaxy. I choose to be more than a weapon. Marcus felt tears he hadn't expected. Lyra ... You gave me something the Vorthik never intended for me to have. She sighed, you gave me free will. Now let me use it. The sacrifice Marcus wanted to argue, to find some other solution, but the station systems were failing. The Vorthik ships were closing in, and soon they would be able to board the station. If that happened, everyone would die, and the Vorthik would continue their plan to conquer the galaxy. Are you sure? He asked. I have never been more sure of anything, Lyra said. This is who I choose to be, Marcus. Not a weapon, not a slave, but someone who sacrifices for others. Someone who makes a difference. Marcus nodded, his throat tight. Do it. Lyra closed her eyes and extended her connection to the stations. Power core. Energy began to flow through her biomechanical systems, building to levels that would have killed any normal human instantly. Tell me about Earth, she said as the energy built. Tell me about the place where humans learn to be free. Marcus talked, describing blue skies and green forests, cities full of people who had chosen their own paths. He talked about music and art, and 1,000 small freedoms that humans took for granted. It sounds beautiful, Lyra said. Her skin was beginning to glow with the energy flowing through her. I would have liked to see it. You will, Marcus said. When this is over, when we've stopped the Vorthik, I'll take you to Earth. You'll see it all. Lyra smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like what she was. A young woman who had found her purpose in life. I already have, she said. I've seen it through your eyes, Marcus. I've seen the best of humanity. That's enough. The energy reached critical levels. Throughout the galaxy, in Vorthik facilities on dozens of worlds, bioconstructs designed to enslave entire species suddenly stopped responding to their programming. They looked around with new eyes, seeing themselves, not as weapons, but as people. And they chose freedom. The aftermath. The feedback pulse disabled every Vorthik ship in the fleet. Their biomechanical systems, so similar to Lyra's, couldn't handle the overload. The ships drifted powerless, their crews alive but helpless. Marcus knelt beside Lyra's still form, holding her hand. Her skin had returned to its normal luminescence, but her eyes were closed, and she was no longer breathing. Did it work? Sarah asked quietly. Marcus checked the communication systems. Across the galaxy, reports were coming in of Vorthik bioconstructs breaking free from their programming. The liberation was spreading like wildfire, as each freed construct helped to free others. Yes, Marcus said. It worked. War Commander Vex Cole appeared on the screen again, his ship's emergency power finally restored. But something had changed. In his expression, the arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. Your bioconstruct has caused considerable damage to our operations, he said. Her name was Lyra, Marcus said firmly. And she wasn't ours. She was her own person, making her own choices. Yes, the war commander said quietly. We are beginning to understand that. Your species is ... not what we expected. What happens now? Marcus asked. Now we must reconsider our approach to your people, the war commander said. We sought to control you through manipulation, but you have shown us that such control is impossible. Your strength does not come from your technology or your weapons. It comes from your capacity to choose compassion over self-interest. The war commander's image flickered. We will withdraw our forces. The Vorthik Empire will need time to adjust our understanding of what it means to be free. The Legacy 6. Months later, Marcus stood in the rebuilt conference room of Mining Station Omega-7. The station had been expanded and upgraded, now serving as a diplomatic outpost between human and Vorthic space. The relationship between the two species was still fragile, but it was growing stronger. On the wall hung a holographic portrait of Lyra, not as she had been created, but as she had chosen to become. Below it, a simple inscription. She chose to be more than her programming. The Vorthic delegation is arriving, Sarah announced from her station. Marcus straightened his uniform and walked to the docking bay. The Vorthic ship that approached was different from the military vessels that had come before. This one was beautiful, artistic, designed for diplomacy rather than conquest. The figure who emerged was familiar, Kethvar, the speaker who had originally delivered Lyra to the station. But he was not alone. Behind him walked a dozen other beings, each one unique, each one a former bioconstruct who had chosen freedom over programming. Speaker Kethvar, Marcus said formally. Welcome to Omega-7. Engineer Chun, Kethvar replied. We come to honor the memory of the one called Lyra, and to begin the work of understanding between our peoples. One of the former bioconstructs stepped forward. She was tall and elegant, with features that reminded Marcus painfully of Lyra. I am Zara, she said. I was created to be a weapon against the Andorian species. Instead, I chose to be a teacher. I have come to learn from you, to understand how you showed Lyra the path to freedom. It wasn't about showing her anything, Marcus said. It was about treating her like a person, like someone whose choices mattered. Yes, Zara said. This is what we must learn, what it means to be a person rather than a thing. As the delegation moved through the station, Marcus found himself thinking about Lyra's sacrifice. She had given up her life to free others, to stop a plan that would have enslaved entire worlds. But more than that, she had shown the galaxy something important about what it meant to be human. Humans weren't special because they were strong or smart or technologically advanced. They were special because they chose to treat others with dignity and respect, even when those others were different. From them, they were special because they could look at a weapon and see a person, look at a slave and see a friend. Asterisk. That evening, as Marcus stood in his quarters looking out at the stars, he thought about Earth and all the people there who would never know about Lyra's sacrifice. They would never know that their way of life, their freedom, their very existence, had been preserved by an alien woman who had learned to be human. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the best tributes weren't monuments or memorials, but the simple act of continuing to choose compassion over fear, understanding over prejudice, freedom over control. Marcus smiled as he watched the stars. Somewhere out there, beings who had been created as weapons were learning to be people. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was becoming a little bit more free. And somewhere out there, he liked to think, Lyra was watching and smiling too. The gift that had changed everything wasn't the bioconstruct in the crystalline container. It was the choice to see that construct as a person worthy of respect and love. That was the most human thing of all, and it was a gift that kept on giving, spreading. Freedom and hope throughout the galaxy. In the end, that was what HFY really meant. Not that humans were better than other species, but that they had the capacity to bring out the best in others, to help them become more than they ever thought possible. And that, Marcus thought, as he prepared for sleep, was a pretty good legacy. For a simple mining engineer, and the woman who had chosen to be more than her programming. Asterisk.